finished the second or third book in this series yet. There's secrets that have come out. Oh no, I dropped it. Basically, that means that the dye style and my gauge are matching up in the worst way possible. Emily, why do you like this guy? We're going to do something different for this book box, and we're going to try to complete the entire Emily Wilde series. Hello, my name is Emily Crow from The Cozy Crow, and welcome to my YouTube channel, and welcome to today's vlog, where we are going to try and tackle the entire Emily Wilde trilogy, which is a cozy fantasy set in the early 1900s about Emily Wilde as she's completing a field guide about local fairies. So it includes her interactions with local people as well as lots of different fairy kind. I've read the first book already, and so when I saw that Uranatius's book box would be about the first book, I was like, wow, this is the first time this has happened. I'll be able to cruise right through. Then I got the idea, I haven't finished the second or third book in this series yet, so maybe this is my push to do just that. So I managed to get all of my library holds to come in around the same time so I can listen back to back to books 1, 2, and 3. So book 1 is going to be a reread, and then books 2 and 3 are going to be new to me, and then I will have completed this series that I've had on my list to read for years now at this point, because I read Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies about 2 years ago. So let's jump into this book box. If you're not familiar, inside this box, there's yarn, maybe some notions, and other fun goodies that are not related to yarn that are inspired by the book this box was inspired by. So they are all inspired by Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. And on different packages, there are different page numbers. So when you get to that page number in the book, you can open that package and find the goodie or yarn that is inspired by that page. Today, I don't look my best. I've got a massive pimple right here. I don't feel my best. You can probably hear I've got a wicked cold, and it is on the tail end, but my throat sounds really awful right now. Let's take a look at the goodies inside this box. There's an envelope that is not marked. We should open it, I think. Oh, it's the pattern. The book Fairy Socks by Sock Witchery. A couple goodies that are included. I'm not going to open them yet, but these are needle stoppers. These cute hearts. Adorable. I love that texture. There's some mochi gummies. Strawberry flavored, which look really delicious. I'm excited. I will probably gobble them all up in just a second. I ordered the opposite sock set as an add-on. So this is the Dark Boxes sock set. This is Bumblebee's Past with Minnie's Murky Pond and Golden Thread. Again, I will take these out and show them. The lighting's better when I'm feeling better. First package is on page 11. What a handsome beast, Finn said. So I'm excited about that. And maybe I will get to page 97 sometime soon. My dear Emily, I've never seen you look so dejected. So let's hop right on in.
Penguin Random House Audio presents Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, Book 1 of the Emily Wilde series, by Heather Fawcett. Read for you by Elle Potter and Michael Dodds.
So I need to pick a good bookmark to match my book. Alfred, time to move. Get out of here. Okay, I need to pick a good bookmark. I have a lot of bookmarks. Alfred, get out of here. And they need a good organizing too. Honestly, this one from Poppy's, I might just do because it matches right away. And I can always find a different bookmark later. But it's nice to have one that matches the cover. All right, so I've continued my audiobook reading. I do apologize for my voice. I'm still a little bit under the weather, but I have gotten through a lot. I have family in town, and so it's been hard to do as much listening as I normally do. And now my audiobook hold is running out, so I'm trying to power through this. I was listening while I worked out this morning. I was listening while I weeded some dandelions. So I've made really great progress. I am ready to open up this package. So this is for page 95. I really like that. Because I've read the story before, I kind of know what's coming, but I'm also seeing I guess, little Easter eggs of how the story turns out. And so it's been really fun to be able to like, oh, okay, I see little inklings of what's going to happen later. So it's been really fun. And I did really enjoy this the first time around, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it the second time around too. So I'm really excited to be able to continue the series after I finish reading this book. So at this point in the story, we have a visitor. Surprise, surprise, Wendell Bumblebee has shown up and has been interacting with Emily. And I love seeing their relationship because Emily she has a hard time reading people. And yet she really understands Wendell. And just hearing little bits where she describes how deep green his eyes are, or where she mentions just passively that they would eat lunch together almost every day at the college that they work at. She didn't think anything of it, but it's just, you can tell that they really have a friendship, relationship, that they're not just like ships in the night passing, but they actually know each other. And even if they annoy each other to some extent, they also definitely care about one another. So that's been really cool to see. But Wendell has shown up. He's got a couple students in tow. And Emily is like both grateful for his help, but also really frustrated with him and how he wants to do things differently. He's a lot more type B of a person and not as methodical in the research aspect, but he does interact with people really, really well. And he is the key for her really getting comfortable with the townsfolk and learning about their culture, since she kind of just dropped in and was so focused on the culture of the Fae in this area. She totally neglected learning about the culture of, how is it pronounced? Losland? It's spelled like this. It's hard to pronounce. I'll have to remember how the audiobook pronounced it. So she doesn't really understand the people. And that has been to her detriment. But with Wendell around, he understands the people better. So now she needs to try and win back the locals, because Wendell has kind of taught her what she needs to do. And it's really cute. Wendell says, "Dear Emily, I've never seen you look so dejected," because she feels like this is such a big task. She can confidently interact with the Fae, but interacting with people is just really hard for her. That's where this package comes along. Page 97, the 30th of October. Wendell and Emily are going to try to work together to write this paper and present this research at a really big conference. And in doing so, hopefully restore Wendell's reputation and heighten Emily's reputation so that she can hopefully get a tenured position at Cambridge. So that's exciting. They're working together on this research so that they both can hopefully get something that they want out of the agreement. This feels like a full skein of yarn. Oh, this is called My Dear Emily. Oh, cute. So as a reminder, I ordered the Light Fairy option with the Dark Fairy add-on. So this is the Light Fairy main skein. It's got lots of like bright greens and yellows, very like summery, springy summery. There's even some cool like blues and grays in here. So pretty. I'm assuming because I did the add-on sock set and it has 2 mini skeins with it, that I will have 2 mini skeins to go with this one. So I'm gonna wait to cast on my pattern until I have at least 1 mini skein that I can do for the cuff. Oh, it's another copy of the pattern. I'll have to compare this pattern with the other pattern in the envelope. But I'm gonna continue reading through this book, and I'll probably talk to you tomorrow and give you an update on kind of where things are going. But I'm making really good progress in this book. Listen to a lot of it. So I have now gotten to about page 100. We are at the very end of October, and they're getting ready for winter to set in. Hello, it is another day. I'm feeling pretty good, though my voice is still a little bit off, but I have made some really good progress in this book, and I'm actually really close to opening the next package after the one I opened right now. So I think I'm gonna power through, work on some chores, and get to the next package soon. So I'm excited about that. But we are here to open page 137, the 16th of November package. It says, "I spent the day with my books and my notes." And it's heavy and hard, like it feels like a little jar. So I'm very curious to learn what is in there. But first, just a little update on kind of what's happening in the book at this point in time. Wendell and Emily have inadvertently gained the trust of the people in Leosland, I think is how it's pronounced. And it was because there was an accident and Wendell was hurt and Emily needed help. So she reached out to the villagers and they were able to serve them and care for them and figure out how to help Wendell. There's secrets that have come out, things that Emily suspected that have been proven true. And now some of the villagers also have learned of these secrets. And so it's definitely shaping the relationship as these things are coming to light. At first, Emily just had the suspicion Then she felt like it was confirmed. And now at this point, Wendell has acknowledged that Emily has learned the secret of his. And it's definitely altered the dynamic of their relationship as the secret has come forward and is no longer just supposed. It's been fun to see. Something else that has come up, there's this fairy tree that is pretty sinister and trying to ensnare both Emily and Wendell. And it won't be the last that we hear of this tree, I don't think, if I remember correctly. There's definitely some fairy magic at play, so I'm intrigued to see where this goes. Now, I've already read this book, but it's really fun to reread it after a few years, and I'm relearning all of these details, which is really fun. So while I remember some vague things about how this book went, there's a lot of questions that I still have that I know are going to be answered and made clear soon. So let's open this package. Okay. Oh, it's a cute little candle. Adorable. From Flameworks Apothecary, Reading Nook is the smell. Nice and cozy, like a little bit spicy, but pretty subtle. I don't see anything about like what notes it has. So cute. I will definitely be lighting that soon. And a sticker. I like my books with fae and fairies. Cute. Love that. So yeah, like I said, I'm really close to opening the next packages, and we have like a bunch of packages really close together. So we've got a page 203. We've got 2 packages for page 234, and I don't know if that's a mistake. I'm gonna double check and figure out what's happening here. If I have a duplicate or something, I'll reach out to Maggie and see, but there's 2 packages to open on page 234. We also have one on 245, and then the last package is not until 317, so that's in a little ways. Honestly, I feel like this morning we could easily power through this one and probably get through the next couple too, because I am on page 180 right now. We are pretty close to hammering through a lot of these packages. And once we've been through these packages, then I will start casting on the sock, and I'm gonna listen to the second and third books in this series with no spoilers, like maybe just my reactions, because I really don't want to ruin it for anyone who has not read the other books in the series, but I do want to do a little vlogging of my experience. I'll be listening to those books while I am working on the sock pattern. Let me package it together. It's a skein holder. So you put this bit up through the middle of the skein once it's all caked up, and then you can have it hanging from your wrist, and you can just work that one skein of yarn. Pretty neat. And then it looks like we got the next portion of the pattern. Hello. Little update here. We just went hiking. So fun. We went and saw Panda, which is the largest aspen clone in the world. So technically the largest organism in the world. My phone is moving. But we have made a lot of progress. I got to listen in the car on our long drive to this book. And so now we are on page like 251, 252. So we're getting close to the end. We only have about 20% left of this book. I am really enjoying this, like maybe more than the first time I read it. But final rating to be determined. I am having a lot of fun. We've opened 2 packages now, and just a little update, trying not to have too many spoilers or anything, but I think it's been so fun. We've had a couple smaller plot lines kind of get tied up. Big challenges that the local villagers have faced, kind of things have cleared up a little bit, and we've also gotten some lore about this tree and the king, the fairy king that's trapped in the tree. Is he evil or is he not? Hard to say. And now we're kind of in a predicament. Emily is now stuck in the fairy world for scholarship. She's not in like the best situation, so we'll see kind of how things work out. Let's talk about those packages. Now, I did have duplicates, those 2 packages that were on page like 235 or 234 or whatever. I talked to Maggie. She said, oh, you must have gotten a duplicate. You can keep it. It's fine. I'll probably give one to my mom. I got next copy of the pattern. I got these cute bookmarks. They're resin. So I've got this one, purple and yellow from Bad Friggin' Design. And then I've got this one that's like blue with a little bit of yellow and green. So cute. Oh, it looks like there's a purple one on the back. And then in the second package, we got a mini skein. This one is called Salted Plums. It's such a cute color, and it actually matches the cover of the book really well. Oh no, I dropped it. Ta-da! Super cute. We only have one more package to go, and it is probably the last mini skein, and we're almost done with this book. I think I might finish it on our drive back home from being out here in the middle of nowhere. Super excited to be able to finish this today, and then I can hopefully get some needles ready tomorrow and start casting on and listening to the next book. All right, so it is another day, and I'm getting ready to prep my yarn so that I can start this sock. I love these colors together. I am very much more of a spring light pastel type of color palette than like a moody saturated fall or winter color palette. So while I do like the dark fairy color scheme, I am really happy with this light one, and I'm excited to be casting on. The only needles I have are my really short 2-inch needles and then this really beat up cord. It's not going to be my favorite knitting experience, but I don't really want to order more cords from Amazon, so that's the way it gotta be. And I don't know where my other cords are. So I did finish Emily Wild's Encyclopedia of Fairies. I might have loved it more the second time around than the first time I read it, just because since it was an audiobook, it was a lot quicker, because in general it's a slower paced book, and so I really liked the pacing through the audio. But my final rating is still out. I will definitely get back to you at the end of this video with my for sure rating on what I think about it. But we had some drama. There was definitely some high stakes at the end, a climax that we experienced. And so it was exciting. A really fun end of trying to get Emily out of this fairy kingdom that she found herself in. So I'm excited to start the second book, Emily Wild's Map of the Otherlands, and to kind of learn about what happens next in the story. I feel like the first book didn't have really any cliffhanger. It didn't have any unfinished business necessarily. Like, I knew where the characters were going after the story concluded, but I didn't necessarily feel like I needed to start the second book immediately. It was kind of episodic in nature. And so I wonder if that's how this entire trilogy is going to be, or if this second book is going to end on a cliffhanger leading into the third and final book. Not sure. We'll have to wait and see. All right. Ta-da! Full skein done. Let's do these minis. Time to cast on with my janky needles.
Penguin Random House Audio presents Emily Wild's Map of the Otherlands, Book 2 of the Emily Wild series, by Heather Fawcett. Read for you by Elle Potter and Michael Dodds.
Okay, super quick update on both my socks and this book, Emily Wild's Map of the Otherlands. So we are back at university, and it's a few months later. It starts in the next fall after the first book. And so Wendell and Emily have kind of gotten into the groove of things, being back at university and teaching. They're at like an equilibrium in their relationship and how they treat one another. So they're kind of settled in right now. And Wendell is victim to a poisoning and some other assassination attempts. And so they are now going out into the country, going on the lookout for a special fairy portal. That all happens really quick in the story. So I'm not going to share much more about what happens in the story, but we are going to continue on in the book. I've got some driving to do today. I honestly did not feel great yesterday, so I didn't do a lot of knitting, but I have maybe half my cuff done. I picked the Salted Plum color as the top cuff, and I think I'm gonna use the Golden Feathers color as maybe heel and toe or just the heel. Haven't decided, but my goal for today is to finish the cuff and cast on in the main color so I can start establishing the pattern. As far as I can tell, between the pattern that came all included in this envelope and these cards, the difference that I can see is that the folded up pattern in the envelope has charted instructions, not just written instructions. And it's all like combined. So I don't know if that was a recent addition that was thrown in after these were printed, maybe? I am not quite sure. If I find any discrepancies, I'll let you know. But as far as I can tell, there aren't any. So I'll probably just follow the charted instructions to get used to the pattern because it'll be easier for me to kind of associate reading my knitting with what I'm seeing in the pattern visually. That's the goal today, is to start getting established on the pattern of the main part of the sock. That was not a flattering angle. I do not know why it took me what felt like forever to finish this twisted rib cuff, but I'm finally done, so I can get started on the main body of the sock soon. You got my buddy with me. Okay, so I'm only like 6 rows into this pattern, and there is some crazy color pooling going on both sides of my sock. On this side too, there's like that massive green chunk. It's not as bad, but on this side, it is really bad. And I don't know what I want to do about it. Do I want to alternate? Do I want to start from the other end of the skein in case that'll fix it? Basically, that means that the dye style and my gauge are matching up in the worst way possible. So I'm trying to figure out what I can do about that. I think I may try from the other end of the skein in case the dyeing turned out a little bit differently over there. I really don't want to have to alternate rows, but that might be what I have to do. Or like some helical something. That would be so hard with lace knitting. All right, started from the other end. Already the blocking of the colors is looking way better. And on the side too. You can definitely tell this end of the skein is a lot darker, so that's kind of interesting. So I'm also trying to be mindful to not pull things too tight, to kind of have even, relaxed tension, so that hopefully as I continue the sock, the pooling or lack thereof will be consistent throughout. That's kind of the one thing I'm a little bit nervous about, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. I am trying to stay up so I can get ready for night shift. It is currently Wednesday, early morning, and I'm working tonight. So trying to stay up late so then I can take a nap, be awake for a little bit during the day, and then take another nap before my night shift. If you watched my other vlogs, you have seen me do this before. That's why I am sleepy, but trying to stay up a little bit longer. My goal is 2 a.m. I'm not trying to push it too hard because I'm still kind of recovering from being a little bit under the weather, and allergies are hitting me real good. We'll keep working on this and just enjoying ourselves, watching some YouTube. It's kind of the easiest way for me to stay awake at night is by having a screen on. All right, 1 repeat for the chart is done, and yes, that color blocking, the pooling I was seeing, not nearly as bad, so that makes me feel really happy. I hope that it won't get worse, like towards the end of this sock or into the second sock, but we'll just find out when we get that far, and we'll make adjustments as needed. I think the pattern calls for a couple more repeats. I can't remember. We'll keep going. Maybe I'll do 2 more repeats and then move on to the heel. Hello, just here for an update on Emily Wild's Map of the Otherlands. I have finished it, and while I didn't enjoy this quite as much as the first book, I'm still figuring out my rating, maybe like a 4.25, 4.5. I think the biggest reason I didn't like it as much was because Wendell was really annoying in this book. His faults definitely came to the forefront, and it just made it a little hard to sympathize with him. And I know he wasn't feeling his best because he's got poisoned and there were assassins coming after him, yada, yada, yada. But it was really cool to see Emily's growth in this book as she was trying her best to figure out how to help Wendell, how to keep him safe, as well as win his kingdom back for him. So that was really cool. She definitely had a run-in with the fairy realm as well, spent some time in there, and it's just really interesting how her brain gets really foggy when she is in like a fairy kingdom compared to when she is in the real world and interacting with fairies. I think that's a really cool touch that this author has done. And while this book didn't end on a cliffhanger, same way that the first book didn't, I definitely see where this story in general is going. So that's exciting. And I'm really excited to read the third and final book of the series and to get these off of my TBR. And then an update on this sock pattern, the book Fairy Socks. I am more than halfway done with my heel flap. I decided to do only 2 repeats of the leg just because of the length. And I do like a slightly shorter sock. So we've got 2 repeats there, or from the front you'll see like that. And it seemed like the designer only did this pattern on the leg of the sock, but I think I want to carry it through the gusset and onto the top of the sock as well, is the look that I want to go for. That's the plan. It'll take me a smidge longer than just doing a vanilla sock for the foot, but I think I like it better. We're going to continue on this heel flap. It's a little bit different construction than I'm used to because we're doing these garter stitch borders on either side, but it is still a slip stitch heel flap and gusset kind of scenario. So it shouldn't be too hard for me to do. I think my goal for today is to finish that heel and pick up my stitches to get started on the gusset, but we'll see how far I get as we continue book 3.
Penguin Random House Audio presents Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales by Heather Fawcett. Read for you by Elle Potter and Michael Dodds.
All right, super quick update on how our sock is coming and how the third book is coming. Where's my copy? All right, so a little intro on Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales. I am intrigued to see where her writing is going because Emily has been compiling these stories and the circumstances with the Fae. In the previous book, she did a lot of maps of the fairy realm and how things kind of interconnect, but I'm not quite sure why she is putting together a compendium of lost tales, like what its significance is, because it's not related to her research at the moment. This book takes place immediately following the second book and where that ends, and so you see Wendell and Emily going into the fairy realm and planning to be there for a while and kind of seeing where things shake down for them, basically. So we've gotten inklings that maybe there's a curse going on. There's something sinister kind of underlying that they need to figure out what to do about. So that's kind of all I'm going to say for right now. I feel like trash because I worked a night shift, I had a day off, and I worked another night shift. And today I'm just recovering. I took a teeny tiny nap. I'm just trying to make it to bedtime so that I can pass out and sleep all night long. I've actually made a lot of progress in my time at work last night because my patient slept really well, and on drives and things at Passenger Princess. So I'm almost ready to start the toe of my sock. Perfect timing, right? So this is how my sock is coming. Looking good. I think I'm gonna do purple for the toe, but I tried it on. I feel like I need a little bit more length. I was really hoping that I would have a length I really liked just finishing full repeats, but that's not the case. It might even be too much to do half a repeat because there's kind of 2 different lace patterns within one full repeat. It's very cyclical with the yarn over is kind of, I don't know, in like a martini glass. So they're spread out, coming together, and then they're in the center. So I might even not be able to finish half a section, but maybe we'll just do a handful of rounds and try it on again and see if we're ready for the toe or not. that. I'm hoping that I can finish the sock today and maybe cast on the second sock so we can power through that second sock, finish this third book, and then come back to you guys with my concluding thoughts on this whole experience. All right, so just giving you an update. I have finished one sock. Ta-da! And my second sock, oh, I thought it was farther. Well, I've started my second sock, so that's something. I have a ways to go. These cuffs with the half twisted rib feel like they're taking a long time. But I have finished Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales. This book felt different than the other two stories because almost the entirety of this book was spent in Fairy, so that was a little bit different. I also felt like there were less smaller plot lines throughout the story, and it was really just the one major plot that was trying to get wrapped up. It just felt a little bit different. It felt a little slower because there were less facets, I feel like, to the plot. But I also enjoyed how we got a little bit more depth in Wendell and Emily's characters and in their relationship, and seeing that it wasn't 100% perfect, that neither of them were ever in the wrong or made assumptions or anything. It wasn't a complicated relationship still, but there were still some challenges that they faced in things that they had to overcome, which I liked. I would say I think I liked it about as much as the second book. Definitely not as much as the first book. I think the first book is just something special and different, but I do like how everything concluded in this. And when I do my conclusion of this whole box, I'm gonna give a final star rating on all three of these books and a little bit about how each of them differ, so you can keep an eye out for that conclusion coming soon. But right now I need to work more on this second sock and make some good progress there so that hopefully soon I can finish out this video. Started the leg. I've been working on the sock very diligently and I am almost done. I'm so tired. It is a night shift. So I've got half a repeat left and then the toe. So we're getting close. I might even finish it tonight, but it's like 5 a.m. and I'm really tired. I might need to go and get a walk because both of my patients are sleeping and I've slept pretty great tonight. I've been doing a lot of sitting and I'm dragging. So let's talk about this Emily Wilde box. I am so excited to finally film the end of this video. It has gone on long enough, but I had a really great time rereading a favorite from a couple years ago and then continuing on in the series, as well as opening this box and knitting these socks that I am really, really liking. So let's talk about all these things included in this box just as a little refresher. We'll talk about my thoughts on the pattern and the yarn, as well as my thoughts on all three books in the Emily Wilde series. I have had insane self-control because I have not yet eaten these mochi gummies that were thrown in there. I'm going to devour those as soon as this video is done though. That's going to be the first thing to go. And then I unpackaged these needle stoppers. There's 2 of them. They've got a really pretty texture on them. I really love these. And then just as a reminder, I ordered the light fairy box, though there was a dark fairy box, and my impression was not only were the yarns different in the dark box, but some of the goodies were different as well, but I don't know that for sure because I just had the light box. But I did order the dark colorways as like an add-on. This one is Bumblebee's Past. This mini is called Golden Thread, and then the other mini is called Murky Pond. Fun little moody sock set right there. I'm not sure what I'm gonna make with that, but I had some FOMO. I did not want to miss out on that other colorway option. I thought it would be really cool to still get that one. Other goodies that came in this light box, the wooden stitch markers that are very significant for the story if you're familiar. A dog, I'm sure that is Shadow. There's like maybe a lily pad or something. There's the fairy tree. Let's see, there's a wolf or a fox, and then a mushroom. So very woodsy and feels pertinent to the story as well. We've got this sticker, I like my books with fae and fairies. A really cute little candle from Flameworks Apothecary, a skein holder from Happy Creative Studios, and a bookmark from Bad Friggin' Design. So lots of fun goodies in here that I am sure I'm going to use. I'm so excited to try these. I hope I really love them. Let's talk about the yarn next. These are my socks, and they're still wet because I just blocked them. But here they are. There is a left sock and a right sock. So this lace detail is only on one side of the front. And I did carry it through the whole foot, unlike the original designer who said that was an option, but they only did it on the leg. I wanted it on the foot as well, and I really like how it turned out. I was really worried about color pooling, especially because my first cast on had some really crazy color pooling. And while, let's see, which one's my second sock? This is my second sock. So you can definitely tell, like on the gusset, there's larger chunks of color. There was a little bit more color pooling on the gusset of this sock. I feel like overall the look is not one of color pooling, though they might not match exactly, but that's variegated yarn for you. I think they match pretty well, and I'm really happy that I didn't have too many issues with color pooling. That was definitely something that was on my mind as I was knitting these, just hoping it would work out all right. These colors, I have a little bit left over. The main color is called My Dear Emily, and then we've got golden feathers that I used for the heel, and then for the cuff and the toe, I use salted plums. I adore this sock set. I love all these colors together. It just made me really happy, and this is totally the foresty fairy vibe I was hoping for when I got this box. So I'm really happy with how it turned out. This came with the pattern Book Fairy Socks by Sock Witchery. So I didn't mention that, but that was included as part of this box, and I've since downloaded it on my Ravelry, so I could get rid of my paper copies of the pattern that were included in the box as well. But that's really nice that you have yarn and pattern intended to go together, so you don't have to come up with a project in mind for this yarn. I've done other boxes where I don't know what to do with the yarn. I have to figure that out myself. So I really like that for this box, it's all included, so you can just make whatever the box is intended for. And you could always branch out and do something different if you are feeling creative, but you don't have to. You can just follow the pattern included in the box with that yarn that it was intended for. I did feel like this pattern was pretty intuitive, and I am used to knitting socks, so I had a fun time knitting it, though I do feel like if you are completely new to knitting socks, that the way this pattern was written might be a little confusing to figure out what exactly the designer wanted you to do. I can almost tell that the designer is really fluent at knitting socks and may have skipped a few things in written instructions because in their brain, like their brain just skipped ahead because they knew what they were trying to say, if that makes sense. I don't think it was necessarily poorly written. I just feel like a little bit more explanation on like where the pattern was going would have been helpful for a new sock knitter. Though I figured it out just fine and I didn't have a big issue with it, but I could see how some people might have a hard time following the pattern at that point where you're trying to figure out exactly where this design goes. But overall, I'm really happy with it. I like that it was just a mostly subtle design, just a little bit of lace detail. It made it a really fast project to work on. Okay, let's talk about the books now. So I've got Emily Wild's Encyclopedia of Fairies, and like I said, this was a reread for me. I read it a few years ago, probably in 2023 is my guess, not long after it came out, and my original rating was a 4.5 star. This time, I bumped that up to a 5 star. I loved rereading this book. I knew enough about kind of where the story was going and different subplots that were going to happen that I could follow along pretty easily, and it was a really nice, cozy read for me. But I also found that doing the audiobook for this was way better of an experience for me than reading it physically, because it just moved a lot faster via audiobook and I got through it a lot quicker. It didn't feel quite as slow. This is definitely a slow, meandering, cozy type of read, and so if that's not something you typically enjoy, then you might find this a little hard to get through, and doing the audiobook kind of cured that for me. I also found that in retrospect, having read it a second time, I could see not only like little Easter eggs or little inklings thrown in there by the author that alluded to future things happening in the book, or, you know, little bits of foreshadowing that weren't obvious my first time reading it, but also I could see more clearly how all the different meandering subplots culminated into the final big climax and plot of the story. It felt like on the first read that I had, there was all these little subplot stories of Emily Wilde in this village trying to help the locals, meeting different fairies and learning from them, and it felt kind of disconnected. But on my second read, I definitely found the thread tying everything together, and I could see the intention the author had much more clearly, and I enjoyed this book more as a result of that. So 5 stars. I loved it. Awesome, cozy read. You also get to meet Wendell, who is not necessarily a rival of hers at her job at her university, but he's a very different person, and they clash sometimes, but she also understands him really well. And so even though she doesn't always get along with him, they both are kind of on the same page as each other and know each other really well, very intimately as friends. And so you get to see that relationship in this new location, and you get to see that relationship grow and change because of all the things that they experience, both the small things and the large things. So I just found that really, really sweet and heartfelt, and made me really care for both of these characters. And even though they're very different, I could tell that they were a good fit for one another. And then in general, I've read quite a few fae things, and I know that fae are like really popular right now in romantasy, but I really liked how the stories of the fae, there's like footnotes at the bottom of the pages that Emily has included in her field guide that she is working on. There is both like a creativeness to the fae and the stories that we're getting, but also a familiarity if you are aware at all of different fae fairy tales and fae elements that are included in other stories. And so I like that combination that felt, both familiar and something new and refreshing and different. And I almost was convinced that this was real because of how vivid these descriptions and this fairy lore is from an academic standpoint. And so I really love that part about this book. Finally, one thing I don't think I've mentioned is that this is a historical fantasy that takes place in like 1910s, I think. And Emily is a professor at Cambridge. And while, especially further on in the series, you get little like sprinkles of misogyny, the normally problematic things that you might see around the turn of the century are not present in this book. It's so nice. There are queer relationships that are just there. Emily gets to work and do research as a field professor, and it just feels like in this alternate reality world that life is just a lot better for Emily than it would be if she was living in our society in 1910. And it just adds to the cozy vibes because we don't have to worry about all those layers. We can worry about more like social interactions and individual relationships than societal problems, which is nice sometimes to take a break from the world burning. Okay, super quick on books 2 and 3. So book 2, The Map of the Otherlands, I rated this a 4.5 star. The plot in this book felt a lot more focused than the first book. There was one objective from the very beginning that they were trying to figure out as Emily and Wendell are back at Cambridge, but Wendell's been poisoned. There are assassination attempts. They feel like someone's out to get him, and so they need to figure out what is happening and how to keep Wendell safe. So that's like the main goal of this whole book, but you still get a lot of the elements from the first story that you love. I mean, it's still from Emily's perspective as she's writing in her field journal, but you get some new characters that join in their research. They go to a new location in the Swiss Alps, I think, if I remember correctly. So you get this new town, this new environment, different fairy interactions in this new place, which was really fun to read about. I found Wendell super annoying in this book. Like, he drove me bonkers, and my compassion and empathy for him just plummeted this whole book. I was like, Emily, why do you like this guy? I don't get it. So that was a little bit hard to read through. It was hard to see his redeeming qualities in this book, but don't worry, the third book, he gets better, if that's what you're stuck on for this book. I also was a little disappointed we're not as invested in the locals of this story as we are in the locals of the first book, but you get to know a lot about these side characters that go on this trip in the field with Emily and Wendell to figure out who is trying to get him and how to stop it from happening. And so that was really fun to be able to get those new characters you could get invested in. It just wasn't locals in that town they were in. And then finally, I rated The Compendium of Lost Tales, also a 4.5. I found that this book felt a little less academic in nature, and it just a natural progression of things as the story went along, and Emily and Wendell find themselves in Fairy for most of the book. And while you would think that would make Emily write a lot of academic things, she was focused on some other stuff. And so I felt like a lot of her journal entries were more personal and were more about her relationships and getting to know people, maybe political intrigue a little bit, trying to figure out what was going on in this fairy world. So yeah, a little less academic in nature. And while they were in Fairy a lot, I was a little disappointed. I thought there would be more treacherous things in Fairy, because every other time she's been in Fairy, things have been really treacherous for her. So I thought because the majority of this book would be in Fairy, that would be the case. And that wasn't quite the case. There was definitely still some treacherous things, but not as much as I was expecting. I definitely like Wendell more in this book. You saw more of his good and bad, and that he was flawed and imperfect, but someone you could still love and root for, and you could still forgive him for being adult sometimes. So I liked his redemption there. You also get lots of cameos of the side characters that you have grown to love from both the first book and the second book. So it was fun seeing them interact with these characters, and how Emily's circle of loved ones is growing throughout these books, and how having Wendell in her life is changing how she interacts with everybody else, and like how she lets other people in and being part of her life. And so that's really sweet to see. I did think that this Lost Tales component would be larger in this book than it was. It was definitely still a theme, but I wanted a little bit stronger of a theme. Overall, I feel like this was a really great conclusion to the trilogy and a really good way to kind of tie things up. No loose ends necessarily. I mean, you could tell where the story was going after these 3 books was over, and you could see the growth in these characters and in their relationships, and it was just a fun, cozy time. I'm so glad that I finished this series and can take these off my TBR shelves and put them on my bookshelf downstairs. It feels really satisfying to be able to do that. I've loved doing these book boxes from Yarnaceous Fibers. It's given me the chance to read books that either I've wanted to read or would not have heard about otherwise, and kind of stretch my reading, as well as getting to enjoy some fun yarn and patterns and other little goodies. It just is a fun way to treat myself and to enjoy my love of both yarn and books together in like one box for myself. And so I definitely encourage you to take a look at Yarnaceous book boxes. They definitely have some on their website, some overflow, so you can get a couple boxes ready to ship if you were interested. So make sure to check that out and keep an eye out for upcoming boxes. Every couple months, Yarnaceous does another book box release pre-order, so you can sign up for those if you were interested. And Maggie always tells you what the book is before you sign up, so that you can know if it's something that you're interested in reading and exploring. So definitely recommend. I've really enjoyed these book boxes, and I will continue to enjoy them the rest of the year as well. Thank you so much for joining me for this video. If you like this type of book and yarn vlog content, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification down below to be notified every time I post a new video. And I have many more of these videos coming, both for Yarnaceous and for Woolbury Fabric Co. and other book boxes that I am keeping my eyes out for the rest of the year. So make sure to keep an eye out for more of these vlogs. I do have a handful of them already on my channel if you want to go back and watch some of those if you are new here. Thank you again for watching, and let me know if you've read the Emily Wilde series and what your thoughts are. I have thoroughly enjoyed it, and I am so glad I got a chance to finish the series. Until next time, happy making and happy reading. Bye!